y'all. Sorry it's gonna be a little bit dark. I feel like I start all my videos with sorry and then complain about something that no one gives a fuck about, and you tell me that. You tell me you don't care. But it's gonna be kind of dark because I'm filming this later. It's like 4 o'clock. I thought it was like 2. It's 4 o'clock, so it's probably gonna get dark in the next hour, so I gotta get rolling. But I am back, and I have more of your paranormal stories that I'm super nervous to read. I found, okay, there's like a 2-parter, and then depending on how long that takes me to read, I'll read a 3rd story, but this sounds so interesting. This is Confessions of a Paranormal Investigator. But yeah, it's gonna get dark. It might get darker, I don't know. We're just gonna deal with it. It probably looks better, honestly, because I've been filming so early in the morning that all my other videos, it's so bright coming in through this window. So maybe this will be better, but I'm gonna get started. This is part 1. Hey Court, my name is Kate. My sister and I have been watching your videos for like 6 or so years and love you and your videos. That is nuts to me. I've been bugging my mom for what feels like forever to share her stories with you because she's had some very crazy paranormal shit happen to her, and I finally got her to write them down for you, so here they are. There was this one time that we went to this house. It was a white 2-story house that was in the process of being remodeled. However, there was no electricity. When we got there, it was late at night and very dark. When we got out of the car, you could feel the heaviness from the house. It loomed throughout the property. I had a necklace on that had my kids' birthstones on it. I could feel it slide down my chest and go into the dirt. I searched for it, but being sand and not having a great light, I could not find it. I was upset, but we went ahead and kept going into the house. There was an even thicker, uneasy feeling spreading throughout the house, so thick you could almost cut it with a knife. When we walked up the stairs, you would hear noises down on the 1st level. And when we would go explore that area where we heard the noises, it would then start on the floor above. We could feel a cold presence that seemed unwelcoming and wanted us to leave. I've never been one to claim to have any 6th sense or anything, however this night would change my mind. In the house, upstairs, was 2 bedrooms, one on each side of the staircase. To the right, the room felt just as you would think. Nothing seemed off. Now the room to the left was completely different. There was a strange sadness and uneasy feeling. I'm afraid of heights, so the sudden urge to go near the window made me scared a little, but no matter how hard I tried, I was being led to the window. I was seeing what was going on in a different time, and I looked out the window, and it was like I could see a scene playing out from a different time, and what I saw was a man dressed in overalls, bald, in his 50s, standing on the ground below with a little white dog who was barking so hard that he was actually moving as he barked. I was frozen as I watched the man grab a rope from the tree that was next to the house. I looked down at what was swinging from the tree and saw a little boy with brown hair hanging from the rope. He was hanging a little boy. I got the feeling it was his son. Upon further scanning the ground where the dog was barking was a little girl in a bright colored dress laying perfectly still under where the boy was hanging. I intuitively knew she was dead. The father began screaming, "Look what you made me do." I felt as if he was looking straight into my eyes as the scene played out. I could feel everything that he was feeling and the hate that he had for these children. I also felt the self-loathing that this man had inside his body. I knew he was pure evil and that we needed to leave. We started to walk down the stairs, and that is when we all smelled smoke like from a cigar. At the same time, everyone that was with us wanted to just get out of the house. I had lost my necklace, as I previously said, and about a week later, the necklace showed up perfectly on my dresser like somebody had laid out my necklace. Never found that necklace when I was ghost hunting there, so I do not know how it showed up at my house. Another follow-up to that, I worked at a radio station selling radio ads. I walked into the store that was for witches, Wicca, all kinds of different spiritual stuff, and the lady didn't even know who I was. But she turned around and she told me, "You need to stay away from that house. The house is bad. The house is evil." I said, "Excuse me," and she said, "You need to ask God to put a hedge of protection around you and your family." She warned me not to go to that house again because evil resided there. About a week before that encounter happened, I was dreaming about that house and all the terrible things. After she told me to do that, we went back and I did pray for protection, but I felt too uneasy to go into the house, so I chose to wait outside. All the while, I prayed. A couple of days later, we were driving by the house and noticed that the house burnt to the ground. We stopped because we had just been to the house previously and there was no way the house could have been burned. A friend of the group that I went ghost hunting with knew someone from the fire department. They asked what was going on with the house that we investigated. Fire department had not been able to find any reason the house would have burnt down. They too had looked at the electrical part of the house and knew there was no electricity. No evidence of people going into the house and accidentally burning it down. To this date, the investigation is unsolved. And then they also said she has a few more stories she's written down for me to share with you. And before I even ask, because I know you always want to hear more, I'm going to post the other part on here right after I'm done posting this one. So we do have part 2. My life has always been a little strange, and for the most part, growing up, I was an odd child. This oddness carried over into my adult life. I've always thought about strange things and found shows about paranormal things interesting. Horror movies were my favorite, and I could watch almost anything that would make others uncomfortable. However, all that changed when I started to ghost hunt. Horror shows and movies changed for me. They were no longer something that was just there and you could get a good scare out of them. The truth was deeply embedded into the shows now, and things were just different. For instance, our group of paranormal investigators went to this abandoned house that sat on a good amount of land in the city. The only light that we had came from the street corner of the intersection. The street wasn't well traveled, but it did have some traffic during rush hour. We decided, as a group, that this house would be perfect to investigate since there were rumors and speculation about what had happened in the house. We researched to make sure we wouldn't be in any trouble for going into the house, or that there weren't any problems with chemicals inside that would harm us. Going forward, it wouldn't be the chemicals we were worried about. The house was a brick home, laid in a single story. It faced at an angle to the west so the sun set on the front door and rose on the back side. 2-car garage and a swimming pool that was about half the size of the house. The pool laid tight to the garage and had a door you could go through to get to the garage once you were done swimming. If you opened every door in the house, it became a continuous room with just doors. It had 2 bedrooms off to the side and the back, and another 2 bedrooms that came off the kitchen. The front door led you into the living room and a fireplace and a set of shelves that was placed right in the middle of the room. However, you could see through the shelves, so if you had anything on them, you could reach it from both sides. We started in the living room, and instantly the house became cold and damp. It was like you had just washed a thin blanket and laid it on your skin. The hair stood tall on the back of my neck and arms. There was a pungent scent of tobacco that also filled the air. I knew whatever was in the house with us was not welcoming. As we explored each area, the smoke smell got thicker and thicker. There were whispers that could be heard even when no one was making a sound. Children's laughter and giggles filled the hallways as we made our way to the bedrooms on the left side of the kitchen. When we opened the door, the giggles stopped. The air hung tightly to my chest as I knew why the giggles stopped. The smoke smell was strong and I thought the house was somehow starting to smoke, but I was mistaken. The cool breeze passed through me and into the room. I felt a cool pocket of air linger by my hand. I knew what I needed to do to figure out what all of this meant. I needed to open myself up to the paranormal. I needed to let go and let whatever was trying to tell me something in. And I did just that. I talked with purpose and told whatever was near my hand to let me know what happened. Just as I thought this, I was transported, for lack of better words, back to when the house wasn't bare and empty. The house was lived in, and there were children playing in the living room while their mother baked in the kitchen. The father, a man who was portly, balding, and smoking a cigar, entered the room where the children played. The children froze when he entered. You could tell in their eyes they were scared of the man they knew as father. However, he was not their biological father. The mother came from the kitchen and gave him a kiss. The children seemed to be afraid of her as well, but not as much as the father. I got the sense that these 2 people had adopted the children. The mother told the children to go play in their rooms. The next scene I saw was the father sneaking into the room late at night, covering one of the child's mouths, and bringing them into the garage. I don't know where this is going. I see the word. Okay, so trigger warning for sexual abuse. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to say he began to abuse the child. He then led the child back. There's more to it, but I'm not going to read it. He then led the child back into the room and repeated the same ritual with the other 2 children. The scene shown to me played out like this night after night. Finally, the scene changed and the children were no longer in the garage being abused, but in the kitchen where the mother watched from her bedroom. As we passed from the children's bedroom to the parents' room, a new scene played out. This time, the mother was being abused by the father and had bruises all along her neck where he had choked her. She laid in bed pale in the face as he got up to abuse the children. I was snapped back into reality as my friend pushed on my back to move from where I was standing. They had been talking to me, but I never heard what they were saying. We continued through the house to the pool area. That's when the next vision came in mind, as I saw the same lady who had been choked before slowly coming out of the garage and into the water. She had brown curly hair, bright red lipstick, and a 2-piece bathing suit. The bathing suit was yellow with big brown polka dots, and she wore a light brown sun hat. She carefully entered the pool, where she went into the middle of the pool. The next flash I received was of her laying face down in the pool, where she died. I could feel all of her pain and grief from the torture of the husband and how she didn't think she could live with herself any longer. There was a sense of rest and regret that filled my whole body. The next feeling I felt was fear, pure anxiety-filled panic. The house had caught fire and the kids were inside. There was no way to get them, and you could feel their pain, hear their screams, and the smell of burning flesh. The whole house was burnt on the inside. This is how we found the house. Wood scarred from the fire scorching it. We researched the fire and come to find out the man had died of old age. However, his wife did drown in the pool. Her death was ruled accidental, but there were speculations. The children, it seemed, were foster kids, and the couple had several fosters throughout the years. The house did catch fire one night after they all went to bed, and it was so hot they couldn't save the kids. However, the man did manage to escape. The fire department didn't have a cause of the fire, but it was ruled accidental. In all the years I investigated, never have I been so sad from what we found. When I sit and reflect back on the investigation, I can still smell the fire and hear the cries of the children. That is oh my God. Like, it's incredible that you're able to like see these things. Like, I think it's like an amazing, like, it's a fucking power. But to like have to hold on to that stuff and have to like endure it, I don't know. I don't think I could do that. It's just so much. It's so tragic. I'm gonna put a trigger warning on the screen at the beginning of that one just because that was a little intense. And I am gonna read one more story, but I gotta make a phone call, so it's gonna get dark. It's gonna get real dark in a second, I'm sorry. But I gotta call my friend because he called me and I got shit to tell him. I got tea! So I'm gonna go for a second, I'll be back. It has been over an hour since I last talked to you guys, so it got really dark. I'm sorry. We're gonna just jump right into the next story because it's gonna get like pitch black soon. This says my first paranormal experience. Hi Courtney, been watching your videos for a while now, so I decided to share my story to you. I'm a fan, sorry, but English is not my first language, so please bear with me. What I'm going to share was my very first encounter with a paranormal incident / being, if that's what it's called. Yeah, I got you. There was a school camp when I was in 4th grade. Everyone was excited, but also a bit scared because of those scary stories they heard from other students, who claimed they saw and experienced paranormal stuff in that school. At that time, I still didn't have experiences with the paranormal. I'm just a bit jumpy when it comes to horror movies or in the dark. It's not that I don't believe in ghosts, and it's not that I believe it either. To see it is to believe. That's what I always think of when it comes to things like this. When the first night comes, it took place. If I remember it right, I think it was 1 a.m. and I'm still wide awake. I can't sleep because it's my first time sharing beds with other people. The girl next to me was also still awake. She pokes my shoulder and asks if we can share a blanket. I said yes, so she moved closer to me. We decided to talk for a while since we both can't fall asleep. It was dark and the only source of light was the light post near the window of the room that we were in. I stared at the window for a minute when a dark shadow figure walks past by the hallway outside of our window. I felt a shiver, and I think my hair went up. I asked the girl beside me if she saw the same thing I saw, and she said yes. It was the shadow of a little girl that I think was at the age of 6. I know it's not a real child because it makes no sense that a 6-year-old kid would still be walking so late at night when no one's awake, just us. We cover ourselves from head to toe since that scared the shit out of us. I don't know how, but I managed to sleep despite of that experience. Morning came, and I was fixing my hair inside the room when 2 teachers walk in. I overhear their conversation, and it's about the teacher who was assigned to us that night. I heard that she went home because she was feeling unwell. I was about to walk out when I heard the reason why. It was because she had a nightmare that same night, and in the dream, she was strangled by a little girl, and when she woke up, she was having a hard time breathing and her neck was red. Until now, I still can't forget that scary night, and until now, that teacher still encounters bad things, and of course it's not my last scary encounter with them. That would be all. If you want to hear more of my experience, I would gladly share it with you. Please, you have to. Especially if you're having the same experiences with that little girl. Like, is she haunting all of you? Like, you've had, because it makes it sound like you've had more experiences with them, but I also understand English isn't your first language, so maybe that's not what you mean at all and I'm just dumb. But please share your stories with us. I haven't like even skimmed this one yet. I'm just like on the Reddit clicking through stories because I only prepared those first 3. But this one says, I know I heard that. And one of the comments says they think it's a SW, so we're gonna read it. Hey Courtney, this is probably gonna be short. I just remembered this the other day. This happened a couple of years ago after a while of moving into a house that I currently still live in. For some context, my house is old and built kind of backwards. So if you're on the street, my driveway leads to the door that goes to the kitchen, and on the other side of the house is the front door. We don't use it. One night I was watching TV with my door open and my mom was in the kitchen cooking. Heard her calling me and I was answering her back. After several times of this back and forth, I decided to get up and go ask her what she wanted. When I got to the kitchen and saw her cooking, I asked her why she was calling me. She then looked at me confused as to why I was in the kitchen. She told me that she was not calling me, but I could have sworn I heard her calling me. I know I hear about this stuff that happens a lot of times, but that was one of the times that I swore my mom was calling me. Also, I just remembered, my sister-in-law that used to live in my house with me said she encountered something similar, but with my voice. She said she heard me calling her and she was answering me, but I just kept calling her. When she went to go check, I was either asleep or I wasn't here, and she didn't know that, so she was kind of freaked out. Besides those 2 incidents, I'm not aware of anything else like that happening in the house, but I will be back if there are other things. And then someone commented, to me that sounds like an SW, but I don't know. Something similar happened to me, but I'll post that at some point on here. Please post that. It's real dark. I was gonna read one more story because I feel like this might be like, not a short video, but like shorter than I wanted it to be. But I'm gonna end it off because it's dark outside. It is dark. And it's kind of spooky, and I don't like reading stories at night. So I'm gonna go. If you have any other stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. But I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye. I don't think I have anything to ramble about. It's so dark. I can't believe I did that. But I'm filming this the same day I filmed my video from Wednesday. That's why I'm filming so late. I like filmed and edited that video, and then I took a little bit of a break, and then I was like, I'm gonna try to film another video. Didn't think it would be pitch black outside by the time I was done with it. Also didn't think I'd be getting 17 phone calls. I talked to 2 different people during that because my friend called me and I texted him, I said, let me finish this story. And so I finished the Confessions of a Paranormal Investigator, whatever. And so I called him, and then he was like, give me 2 seconds. And then while I was waiting for him to call me, my other friend called me. So I was on the phone with that friend, and then he called me, and so yeah, I'm just popular, what can I say? But yeah, I'm gonna go because I'm sweating. I've had my air off all day because I filmed and then like forgot to turn it back on, and then I filmed again, so it's been off literally all day. But it's like cooling down outside, so I haven't even really noticed, but now I'm getting toasty. So I'm gonna go. I love you guys. See ya.